Well, I'm learning to be a bookkeeper. Well, I was fooling with my books this morning, got into real enmeshed in the physical. So I thought I had to put them away and sit down and tune in, start writing to get away from that. So here's what came through. Let's see, this is tape number 26, I believe, isn't it? 1988. Anyway, the title is Identification. How do you identify yourself to life, to yourself, to others? In other words, who are you? Are you listed in Who's Who, the telephone book, or some other directory? For the physical plane, you're identified by your name, your social security number, or if in the military, you wear what you call dog tags around your neck with a numbers on it. You may be identified by your fingerprints and other ways. You've been told by higher authority than the physical that you are not your physical body or even your mind. If we move up the ladder a little ways from the physical, you will find that through viewing the Akashic records that you have many identifications through playing many roles in many lives on the physical plane. So you are known to thousands of individuals by many names playing many roles in the halls of time. You have many long-standing friends through what you call the ages of time. As you have been told, in true reality there is no duality, no time or space, no you or me. Yes, you are used to playing the game of duality, and it is so enmeshed in your language that it is difficult to communicate with you, deleting the concept of duality. That was our writing. Let's relax our bodies, clear our minds, turn loose of the day, and allow yourself to come to this present moment in time, to this particular point of consciousness completely, realizing that each one of you are a part of the contact. As you lend your vibrations to this circle, it reaches up to the higher realms of love and light, and each of you lend your part to making the contact with the higher realm. Let's think on this for a moment and see this circle as a circle of light and love, joy, beauty, and happiness. Good evening, my dear ones. This is Don, your door opener from the higher realms of love and light. It is a wonderful joy to be here with you in your circle of light. As we view you from these higher dimensions, we see growth in each one of you as you move through your experiences on this physical plane. And I would have you know that you are growing more rapidly than some of you think. And it is gratifying to us and to your teachers and to your guides. It is gratifying that you continue to come each Wednesday to this circle to make contact with us and to have this togetherness. You are beautiful souls, and you are in harmony, one with another and with each beat of life. I would have you think of the life force as order, harmony, rhythm, and balance. And as you move through your days, as you call them, ask yourself, do you have order, harmony, rhythm, and balance in your life? I have talked to you about this before, but I would like to remind you this evening of this. I would like to remind you to consider, is your thinking, your life in order? Do you have harmony within yourself, with the life around you and with others around you? If you do, this sets up a rhythm that can tune in to the rhythm of life, to the heartbeat of life. And when you are in tune with the heartbeat of life, then you bring about a balance within yourself. This balance helps you to grow much faster. When you get out of balance by working too much or playing too much or just goofing off, or as you say, or whatever, then you are not always in rhythm with the heartbeat of life. Think on this because it is important, and especially as you go through your days in this summertime, I would have you to realize that summer for you and many others around the world at this time is a testing time. When you have the heat to contend with all your other things that you contend with in your life, then it is an extra burden if you think of it as such. But if you are in tune with yourself, if you are in harmony with life around you, then you go about your days and think not of the heat, think not of the struggle that life seems to be, but relax into yourself and be in tune with yourself and with life around you, and let life be as it is. Think on these words for a moment. Let life be as you find it. In other words, judge not by appearances, but judge righteous judgment. When you think of life as this or that or something else, a drudgery, then you are adding to your burdens that you carry on this physical sojourn. Try to eliminate judgment from your thoughts. Try to be at peace with yourself and with life as you find it around you. I digress from the subject matter tonight, but I do want you to remember this as you move through this summertime, and with so many people around the world, the weather is changing, and it is giving them greater opportunities to grow and to understand. But it is also creating a lot of fear in so many people. And when I would remind you to send love into these dear ones, to send love many times through the day unlabeled, as God would have it go, and be an open, clear, clean channel. When you identify with the entity that you are, then you know that you have the ability to send God's love, to be an open, clear, clean channel for life to work through, to bring about order, harmony, rhythm, and balance in all areas of life. The subject matter of identification tonight can be an interesting one when we think about it, as you identify with your body because you live in your body and you seem to be encased in it, although you truly are not. But you have to carry it around with you wherever you go, unless you have learned to set it aside. And there will come a day, my dear ones, when you do learn to set your physical body aside, set it in the corner, and go about doing things on other dimensions or even on the physical as you would like. Some of you in this group will achieve this in this incarnation. You will achieve the ability to set your body aside and go about doing many things on many dimensions outside of the concept of duality, outside of time or space. Think how wonderful it would be to be free of the concept of duality, time and space. I would speak to you more about this subject. Your teacher, Donald, has spoken much of this in your classes, but some of you who will hear these tapes will not have the opportunity of the classes. And so I would speak to you about the identification. How do you identify with yourself? How do you feel about yourself? How do you identify with others around you? How do you think of yourself in relation to others around you? How do you identify and feel about life itself in relative to you? I would have you think on this. When you are enmeshed in this concept of duality on your physical plane, it is difficult for you to get away from it because it is entwined in your language so much. And when you think in language. And there will come a day when you will do away with the language and not be limited by the limitation of words. There are so many things I could communicate to you if we could do away with the language and communicate with you directly. There will come a day when this will happen also, and the day is not far off. When you identify with just the physical and your physical duties, your physical self, your personality, your mind, then you limit yourself so much, my dear ones. I would have you consider this and to realize that you are so much more than your body. You are so much more than your mind and all of its hang-ups. You are so much more than just the personality that you have built up. And as the writing said, you have been many different personalities in many different lives, and you do have many friends that you have known through this sojourn from the Godhead that you could not count with your numbers in years. Many friends, close friends, that you have loved and still love, and they love you. Many of them are around you when they are not in the physical. Many of them have gone on ahead of you and have gotten off of the wheel of what you call reincarnation and do not have to come back to the physical. They are aware of you. I would have you to be aware of them and to realize that you know intimately these beautiful beings such as you, that you have traveled on this road we call experience outside the Godhead. As you think about this, as you move through your physical days, you realize that you are not alone, that you are not separate. When you think of yourself as separated from each other, separated from life, when you think of yourself as different, you are an individual, and you are a little different than anyone else in the universe, yes, but you are one with everyone and all life and all creation in the whole of the universe. And I would have you know this and remember it. When you learn to remember that you are divine, that you are eternal, that you cannot be destroyed, that you are always in the hands of God, I would draw you a picture, a word picture, as one of your teachers have said. I would have you see a fiber running through the many dimensions, the many lifetimes, going up to the Godhead, to God Himself. This is a connection with God that cannot be broken. This fiber also is connected to everyone else. Now, I use your words and your language to try to communicate this to you, but in true reality, there is no duality. There is no space between you and I. There is no space between you and God. There is no space between you and all the entities on all the other planets. When you consider that there is no duality, this concept has brought you to these lower dimensions. When you took the first thought separate from God and separated yourself in thought only from God, you dropped yourself down to another dimension from the Godhead. And as you experience this with curiosity and wanting to be different and play games and so forth, you came on down through other dimensions until you have forgotten who you truly are. Yes, you have been told who you are, but do you really know that you are one with God and one with all creation? That cannot be brought down into your language. Each one of you are one with all life. As this class started tonight, some of you thought this was not so interesting a subject, but my dear ones, it is. It is very interesting and it is very important for you to realize and know within the deepest part of your being and bring it back to your conscious awareness that you are God, that you are one with all life, and all life is one with you. It is very important for you to know this and to feel this oneness, to feel the belonging to the family of life, and to know that all life is created out of divine love. There can be no conflict except as you create it with your thoughts. Now, you're playing different games on your stage of the physical planet called Earth, and one of the games is war. And this is a part of the duality concept. And so it appears that there is conflict. It appears that there's a lack of love. But my dear ones, this is illusion. And you say to me, yes, but it seems so real. And people are killed and tortured and all kinds of things. My dear ones, it is still just a play on a stage. When you could truly understand this, when you can truly know that there is no duality, then you will not be bound by it. At this time, you are bound by it because you believe in it. You believe in time and space. You believe that you are separate from each other in the deepest part of your being. Now you are trying to raise your consciousness above this misconception and to understand that there is no duality. But most of you have not reached that point. But it is a point to reach in consciousness that will free you from these lower dimensions. I have been speaking so much this evening that I have not given you a chance to ask questions. Would you care to ask questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
You spoke of identification and of each of us having a name or an identification beyond this plane. And yet, if we are all part of the Godhead, and we've just lost our way to that, why would we even need a name? Why would we need to be identified?
You do not need to be identified because you are known by God. As your book, the Bible says, every hair in your head is numbered, and God knows when every sparrow falls. You are known, and it goes beyond your language and the word called identification. It is so much more than that. But you are an individual expression of God that is different than any other expression of God. And so this makes you an individual, and you do have an eternal name. And maybe when you understand this, we would eliminate the word name and say something else. I do have to communicate with you in your language, and it is very limiting. It seems strange to us from the higher realms of love and light when we first make contact and begin to talk with you on your physical plane. It does take a time to get used to. And for those who are making contact for the first time with those in the physical who have not been in the physical for many, many thousands of years, it is difficult to lower their vibrations and speak to you in the language because it is so limiting. Does this help your understanding?
A little bit, yeah.
Yes. Are there other questions?
When you say, you said life is like a play on a stage, and then we talk about, or we have wars, which is a game, and the terrible tragedies that happen during these wars. Is it destined, or I shouldn't say destined, but is it in their life plan to die in these wars and to?
These are the games that you, my dear ones, have created. God did not create these games. You are co-creator with God. But God has given you the freedom to experience in all ways that you desire. And the concept of duality, of good and evil, is what brings about the created universe. In the Godhead is uncreated, is the best way that I can say to you. And so you label this as good and this as evil. And it is only good or evil because you have put the label on it. And as you have been told before, life is, period. It is not this or that or something else. It is. And now you have chosen to have these experiences, to have wars. You have chosen to fight in these wars for the experience. You have chosen to lose your physical body in the wars, or in an automobile accident, or in a fight with someone else. Many, many different things. You have chosen to do this for the experience. Can you see this?
Yes, thank you.
It is difficult to realize that what you consider as very bad or very evil is just an experience. But it truly is, and it is illusion also, because in true reality there is no duality. Life is. When you separate your thinking from the limitations of the lower dimensions, you will be able to understand this more completely. You will be able to rise above these lower dimensions and allow yourself to be a part of the whole of life, even in thought. You are never separated from the whole of life, my dear ones, but you think that you are. When you take time, as you call it, to sit down and be quiet and go within and contemplate this concept that I have given you, that there is no duality, that you are already one with all life, that there is no good or evil, that is just experience. You see, the physical plane, these lower dimensions, are not life as it truly is. It is just a reflection of life. And as you look at your mirror and see the reflection of your body, you know that this reflection in the mirror is not your body. And this is the way that it is now for you on these lower dimensions. It is a reflection of the true self. It is not the true self. Are there other questions that you would ask?
Yes, Don, I would like to ask you, when you said for us to stand inside and look at our life as the script we had written, and just to accept it and go with it. Is that what you meant?
I ask you to resist not, as your master teacher has told you. Resist not evil. Anything that you consider as bad or as not good, then you are placing it, a label on it, as evil or something that you do not like, even if it is a frown on someone's face. And when you resist this, then you have a negative reaction inside yourself, in your life currents that flow through you. But when you look above and beyond the illusions of the physical plane and see the true reality of life instead of the reflection, then you can see that each individual, no matter what they appear to be doing in this play on the earth plane, it is just a role that they're playing, and it is not truly what it appears to be. Each individual is God. Each chair that you sit upon is life force, and this is God. Everything that you come in contact with, even on these lower dimensions, has life, and it is God. When you bring order, harmony, rhythm, and balance into your life and know the truth, that is the truth above and beyond the physical, then you are seeing life as it truly is. And to be able to do this, you are going to have to shut off your beliefs in duality. You're going to have to turn loose of the conditioning that you have been conditioned to believe in time and space, that you've been conditioned to believe in separateness and limitation. You can do this by using the God force within you, not with your personality, not by trying very hard with your will and your physical self, but by releasing yourself to the God within you and allowing yourself to just be, and rising above the physical plane into your higher self, into the God within you, and looking at life from that point of view, then, my dear ones, you need not resist anything. Does this help your understanding?
Yes, thank you.
Are there certain techniques you practice that have been done, some better than others, to attain this higher consciousness?
There are many techniques that you have been given in some of the classes. Each individual will attain this freedom from the chains of illusion in their own individual way. I gave you a little technique in your first class that I spoke to you, if you'll remember, as you called it last year, a technique of allowing yourself to go within and use the breathing exercise that I gave you. This will help to turn loose of some of your physical identification. And as you learn to go within and turn off the world, as you would call it, then you turn on the reality of life. And it does take practice. Yes, there are techniques, many techniques. Meditation, your teacher uses hypnosis to clear out the subconscious mind of its hang-ups. And as you clean house, as you clear the temple that God dwells within of the disbeliefs, of the misunderstanding, then you come closer and closer to the light of truth. You may concentrate on the pineal gland in your meditations. You may watch your breathing to get your thoughts away from the physical. Any little thing like this to get your thoughts within and dwell within. Think not of the outer physical world, but think of spirit within, the highest point of spirit, and allow your inner image to lift your consciousness to the height of your higher self, that is the God within you. Then you will be able to discern the false from the reality. This does take time. It does not happen overnight, but it is worth it. Every moment that you practice in whatever way that you choose brings you closer and closer to the heart of God, closer and closer to identifying with the true self that you are. For my beloved, you are God's. And when you identify yourself as a God, when you think of yourself instead of the body or the personality or the mind, then you are identifying with the true reality of your being. Does this help your understanding?
Yes, it does. I wasn't here for that first lesson, so I'll ask somebody else about information on that.
Yes.
Do you have any information to share on process, or are you familiar with a process called rebirthing? Any stress benefits of that?
I would like to not talk about other groups and what they are doing or judge them. You see, let us talk about the subject that we talk about in this group. There are many groups around the world that are doing good works, but anything that I would say would be a judgment, and I would not like to do this. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes. Judge for yourself. Learn to go to these different groups, go to these different places, and see if it fits where you are in your growth. There are many, many groups that are very good, but they may not be in the place of growth that you need at this particular moment. And so it may not be correct for you at this time. Then you may go to other groups and then go back to this group, and you have grown enough to where it is a good thing for you at this time. It is a growth experience. I would encourage you to investigate these things that you feel inside that you should investigate. Do not limit yourself to this center or to any one group. Do not limit yourself in any way, but reach out. And as the opportunity presents itself, allow yourself to move into different groups, different understandings, and see how it feels for you. If it feels good for this time, stay with it as long as it feels good. As long as you know within yourself that you're growing and that you're being fed, that your soul is being fed. This is the most important thing in attending different classes and different groups. Is your soul being fed? In the structure that Donald has brought about, he has striven to work with all classes of people, shall I say, or people who are in all different stages of growth, to bring them up to a place of understanding where they can receive the enlightenment from in themselves, to clear out some of the cobwebs, to help the subconscious to work with the conscious mind to reach higher into the God Self. Are there other questions tonight?
I would like to try and see if I can put together some thoughts which you brought to light. And that thought is, you've talked of judgment earlier, and we talked of righteous judgment, and it would seem to me that tied to the concept of duality, there is no such thing as judgment. Judgment cannot be. And what we are here to experience is just that, to experience, to learn. And if we fully understand ourselves and where we come from and what we are part of, then we understand that what we are, life here, is not separate from the higher self at all. It is all one thing and only one thing. And anything that we do is really just to learn. Is this correct?
That is correct. Yes. But are you there yet? See, when you are at a certain place in your growth, you have to take the step in front of you. You cannot take the last step to reach your full enlightenment if you are 100 steps from it. You have to take the step in front of it. And when I speak to you, there are many times that it is difficult for me to use your words, and they do not always come out correctly for everyone's understanding. So try to accept the words that come through and fit them into your understanding as best you can. And if there is doubt, feel free to speak out. Yes, when we have reached the place where we are not involved in duality, then judgment will have no place in your thinking, in your consciousness.
Makes it.
Does this help your understanding?
Yes, thank you.
Mhm. Are there other questions this evening?
What form, when we use the term vibrations, or when you use the term vibrations, what form do they take? Are they words? Are they electrical impulses? Or are they some other oscillating item?
They are the one life emanations. There's only one life, but we can use this one life in many, many ways. As the electricity flows into your house, you can use it for light, for heating, for cooling, and many other things. And this one life force is vibrating at many different rates through the code to be a little bit different from each of you. Is this what you meant to ask?
I believe so. The life force can manifest through chemical, physical, electrical, light, and other ways.
Yes, many, many ways. And it is an emanation of life that has a certain beat, a certain rhythm that brings it into an individual vibratory rate, you might say.
And we can learn to identify beings of light on your side by the vibrations or feelings that we pick up.
Yes, by the identification of the different vibrations, the different feelings, you might say, or you use different senses to identify the individuals that you do not have words for in your language. Vibrations is a word that we can use to identify different entities, the vibratory rate that they're vibrating at. And when your senses are sensitive enough, then you pick up the vibrations and you say, oh yes, this is Kadan, or this is Jesus, or someone else. And you feel it. And sometimes when you have sat in the circle, you will know what the subject matter is before you come to class, because you have tuned in, because we are not separate, and the thoughts are going out, the vibrations are going out, the communications are going out to each one of you. And as we sit in the circle and the words are coming through, some of you may already be anticipating what is being said before it is spoken through these vocal cords. There are many, many beautiful things ahead for you, my dear ones, and I would have you to be diligent in cleaning your house, your consciousness, and keeping it clean of all misunderstandings of life, keeping your thoughts loving and beautiful with gratitude, identifying yourself with the reality of your being. As you do this, you raise your consciousness and tune in to these greater things than you have on your physical plane. Are there other questions this evening? Feel free to ask questions, whether you think they are apply or not. When you ask questions, this brings forth a creation of ideas and concepts that can bring about a greater understanding for the whole circle. And each one who asks a question is contributing to a greater understanding for everyone. As I've said earlier, you have many, many friends many close loved ones that you have known for so long. And as you sit in this circle, some of you may know each other by your persona name, but let me say to you that many of you have known each other for a long, long time and have played many different roles together in different incarnations, even on different dimensions. And when you come home at night and you're resting from your body and you call sleep, you do make contact with some of your beloved friends and with each other, and you see there is no limitation there. There is no duality. There is no time or space to limit you, and you know who you are. When you have cleaned house enough to rise above the lower dimensions while you're resting from your body, there are those on this plane who barely rise above their body when they sleep, and or they rise to a lower level. But you in this circle who are learning and growing are learning to move up to the higher levels, and your life behind sleep is very important to you, because it is then that you receive the understanding without language that you are receiving at this moment. And you see, this class has already been held, and the understanding came through without language, and now you're bringing it down to your physical conscious awareness in your language to make a greater understanding so that you might quickly rise above these lower rounds. When you go to sleep at night, release yourself to God and send love ahead into your night, and know that you are manifesting on other dimensions, whether you remember it or not. The work is being done, the work of helping you to understand more, helping you to free yourself from these lower realms so that you might roam the universe at will. Do I hear other questions this evening? I would say to you tonight that there's a much larger group on this side of life this evening than before. We are adding a little more in the physical, but we're adding many more from what you call the invisible side of life. Many, many are coming to learn and are drawn to these classes. They are drawn here because they did not have a chance to have this kind of understanding while in the physical. And some of them are drawn here because they are your friends and they want to be with you at this particular time. I would have you to remember this and send love to them often. Allow yourself to be an open, clear, clean channel for God to manifest through, to manifest His love on the physical plane, on all dimensions. It has been a blessed privilege to be with you this evening, and I would leave you now and remind you that you are always in the hands of God. You are always pressed close to His bosom. God loves you with a love so great that your physical consciousness could not even begin to comprehend such a great love. Remember this, and allow His love to flow through you in great abundance. God bless you, my dear ones, and good evening. Shall we hold hands? Let's think of ourselves as coming together in the physical by holding hands. And this helps us to remind us that we are never separate from each other and from all of life. Allow this circle of light to reach up to the higher round of divine love and life. And allow God's love to flow through this circle in great, great abundance, filling this room, spilling out over the city, covering this whole planet. Let us see God's love going out to all the trouble spots in the world, to all those in darkness, to all those who have crossed over recently, destined to live new life in spirit. Let's see God's love going ahead of us into this week, into our every thought, word, and deed, into every situation, into every encounter. And let us be aware of God's presence within us and His love that He has for us. Thank you, Father. You called this evening, didn't you? Yeah. Don Weldon.
Ernie.
Ernie?
Stop.
You haven't been here before.
John. Idea he mentioned that people in the first lesson I heard it, you express it that.
Yes, we have those on tapes. Mm-hmm. And I have some of them in the other room. I'm going to talk about. I'm going to get them later.
While you're making him one, make me one.
You want the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then there's that one too.
All right. Well, we'll make several of them. Yeah.
Elena wants one.
Elena wants one too. All right.
You know, Don, you said to ask questions even if you're not sure they're appropriate, but I was a little reluctant to monopolize it with more questions or to ask. I mentioned one time my friend Bob Burford that graduated recently. Is it appropriate to ask about his progress or whether the love that I send is making impact or?
It's a fine line in there. Ella always talked about fine lines. And at times we ask Ella personal things, you know. For example, I told you about Bill's brother, I forget his name, but anyway, he lived in Guyman, Oklahoma, and Bill and his brother's father died and had a bank, and they sold it and had the proceeds from it. So, but he loved children, you know, and he married a widow woman who had 4 children, and he couldn't wait to have his own, and she got pregnant right away. But the child only lived for a day and died, as we think of death. And he was very upset about this, and so he wrote a letter and asked if Ella would comment on it, and Ella did, and he said, yes, this entity had karma with you too, and by your being a channel for it to come through, this helped to eliminate the karma. But the real story behind it was that the entity had been born a few years back into a family that just didn't want it, and it died from the lack of love. It died from just not being wanted, and it left a scar on the soul. And it needed to come through a family that really wanted it, but it needed to grow up on the other dimensions. And there's a special place for children on the other dimensions, and they do grow up and mature. See? And so there are times when Ella has commented on things like this. And
It may be that Gadon thinks a little differently than Ella, or comments on some of those things perhaps more openly, because they no doubt are different personalities, different beings.
different beings. I like that word better.
Yes.
As they move upward to the realms that they are on, they eliminate their personalities. They still have their individualities and
Individuality,
and,
that's a better word.
feel the difference in them in their way that they approach life. And we always will have this individual way of thinking and living.
But you can feel a difference in the vibrations or whatever between Gadon, Ella, whatever.
Yes. No. And in Oklahoma, we was a very close-knit group, and we met 3 times a week and contact 3 times a week. And so we became very sensitive to the different ones and the vibrations. And there would be times when there'd be someone new who talked who hadn't been there before. We could recognize that too.
Well, like David the other night, that was very intriguing, very interesting.
Yes, that started in the middle of the day, and this music kept running through my mind, and all week this song has been running through my mind, and when it does, I know that David's around in vibrations.
It ran through my mind for 2 days afterward.
Yeah. Yes, it was. It's a beautiful experience. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what took place, but I was raising my consciousness, and I sent love into this self to raise my consciousness, and this beautiful music came in. It wasn't the song, but it was something else. And I wrote some of it down when I got home. I was shopping or doing something. And but all day it kept, coming back, and so I knew somebody different was going to come through. I thought it might be David because he'd spoken to us before.
But the reason I asked about Bob, I am interested in how he's doing, of course, but at the same time, I don't want to be meddling where it isn't any of my business. So there's a fine line, as you say.
Yeah. But as Gadon said, we're always in God's hands, so we need not be concerned. Yeah.
What prompts the different teachers to come, the different people that speak? What prompts them getting up?
I think it's arranged on the other side. One time, PL, that's the way he identified himself, came through to us, and he was scolding us a little bit. I read this lesson to someone in class, I think, and he said, "How dare you be so negative?" And that's not what he said, but this is the context of it. We had an off week. The group had an off week. He said, "How dare you be this way when you have a council of 20 that sit here with the master teacher and talk of your growth, and we sit in council." And this happens in this group too now. They have meetings like we have a board meeting, see, and they come together and talk about their individual that they are working with. They're the teacher for certain individuals, and so they talk it over and so on. And whenever we started talking about living together, you know, as a group, well, that I really never accepted that at all, but it happened. It happened so easily. It was,
Awesome.
yeah, it was. And I was one of the first ones out there. George and Alice came out, and then I was the third one. This is a group from Oklahoma. And by the way, we talked about sending love. Ella taught us the art of sending love, so I'd like to give you to anyone else, everyone else I think has copied.
Can does Kadam had any communications with our spirit,
With what?
with our guide?
Yes. Yes. They're, as I said, they have meetings, and PL called it a council of 20, he said, that they sat in, and
Are our guides usually among them?
yes, they, when you come to class like this, your guides and teachers almost always come with you. And then they work with, they have a being higher than they are that's working with them, see? And so they go to them for consultations about their charges, as Ella used to call it, the ones that they're helping on the physical plane. Yeah.
Would it be appropriate to ask who our guys are?
I don't think so in this. One of the things that Alva said is that we need to find that within ourselves. See? And in your meditations and in your times of quietness, tune into this. And there is a class on this. By the way, some of you are just starting in this class, aren't you? Who is it? Point of contact. Have we had one class?
It's on the EDA.
We had one or two of those classes.
We have to finish EDA first?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the point of contact.
You learn to contact your teachers and guides. Yes. But you have to take them in order. There's about 5 or 6 before you get to that one. But they're worth it. Yeah. We have a self-hypnosis class on July the 16th. We had an introductory class last night, and we'll have another one next Tuesday night for the self-hypnosis. So send some people. We need some. You who are waiting for the time travel need to get more people in here so that we can get them through the basic classes so that they can enroll in the time travel. See? So I'll put it on you a little bit.
Are you meditating on Don and I class?
On what?
Are you meditating on Don and I class, another class of some kind?
I didn't understand.
Are you-
She means that, are you thinking about having another class for us that have been through the,
Oh, yes. When we mail out. When we do the mail out.
When are you going to do it? Or clear? When are you going to mail out?
In September, last of August.
takes a lot of help.
When are we going to, yeah.
And I will need some hands for helping
It's fun, though.
hands at that time.
It's
It's a
fun.
lot of fun.
Yeah,
Get a lot of, can't believe how fast it works.
yes.
How many have to be in a time travel class?
Around 15 to 20 is.
So these guys who have taken the other classes already are waiting on us?
There's 5 of them enrolled already, committed themselves with money. That's what I ask you to do for those kind of classes. And when we get enough, well, then we'll have it. And if you keep going, well, you'll be there just about right time to take it.
Factoid.
Yes, it is. How many says we're both in the same class, how many factors do we add to go?
Well, self-hypnosis first, self-awareness, and self-confidence, and then you're eligible for the time travel.
You know,
10 more weeks, or?
That'd
10 more.
Or finish up this and
when it first started out, it seemed to go very slow for me. But with practice, it picked up until it starts going much faster. Faster than I could almost get the whole work done.
Yeah, the more you do, the more there is, you find there is to do. The more you learn, why, the more you open up to things to learn.
But there's a tendency when you first start in, because you have to do certain things, to think it's routine or slow. Oh, it doesn't get that way, it doesn't stay that way.
No, it's not slow. Well, I mean, not even in the beginning. It sounds like
Good. I don't hear true.
Well, shall we call it a class for tonight?
I forgot to introduce everybody around that went in to
Learn
Fairly.
evidence trail.